Ladies and gentlemen, now we begin the webinar on the crypto regulation in Korea. My name is Ilunan, an attorney at Bit Law Firm. This webinar is the first English-only webinar hosted by a Korean law firm introducing the crypto regulations in Korea. This event is co-hosted by Financial News, one of the major economic media group in Korea, and by us, Bit Law Firm, which is an IT boutique law firm specialized in advising venture and technology. This event is also sponsored by Newton, that operates a content studio. This 50-minute webinar consists of the following. As an opening, a senior partner of Bit Law Firm will make opening statement, which will be followed by the great speech of the CEO of Financial News. Then, in the main session, Mr. An Sung-ha will present his view on the crypto investment in Korea and the future of the crypto market in Korea. Bit Law Firm will present the crypto regulations in Korea as well. At the end of the webinar, we will have the Q&A session. If you have any question during or even after this webinar, please send us your inquiry to our email, contact@bit.kr. Now we'll begin this seminar. Mr. Baek Seung-chul, a partner of Bit Law Firm.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Baek Seung-chul. I have been advising numerous technology business in and out of Korea, and it is a great honor for me to share our knowledge and experience with you through this webinar. BIT stands for Ventures and Technology. It was established by lawyers who have backgrounds in computer science degree or relevant work experiences to provide practical advice to clients in the technology sectors. Now, our practice area includes crypto regulations, privacy, M&A, and investment. I personally majored in computer science as well. Korea is a significant market for the global blockchain and cryptocurrency industries due to the nature of the blockchain, which has no geographical limit. Numerous Korean individuals have invested in cryptocurrency using global trading platforms and services. And many of Korean tech companies and crypto investors have expanded their business globally. Recently, the Korea Financial Authority announced the crypto regulations, and a certain notice was sent to the global crypto exchanges. According to the notice, global exchanges now have exactly 1 month to assess its Korean regulations and complete all requirements to do the business in Korea. We understand that most of you still do not have fully clarified on the crypto regulations in Korea and how such regulations would affect your business strategies. That is why we prepared for this webinar in English, which was not offered by any other law firms in Korea. I thank you for the interest and participation in the webinar. I sincerely hope that we could assist you with practical advice based on our understanding of ventures and technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baek, for opening and introduction of Bit Law Firm. Next, Mr. Jeon Sun-ik, CEO of Financial News, will greet you.
Hello everyone, this is Sun-ik Jeon, the CEO of the Financial News, which is one of the major economics and business newspapers in Korea. I'm very delighted you all have joined to today's online conference about the latest updates on crypto regulations in South Korea. So before we start, I would like to say thank you all for the honorable opportunity to be discussing about this topic with you. Since 2018, the Financial News has been setting up the expertise in cryptocurrency industry. We have successfully launched the blog post, which is a separately dedicated web section for all those informative articles and market updates regarding blockchain and cryptocurrency. Most of countries around the world have started to make their unique adjustments on crypto regulations. The difference and complexity may cause pains, but there is no doubt on the fact that those are all necessary steps we must go through to eventually achieve mass adoption of this technology. Circumstances are not different here in South Korea. The anti-money laundering legislation went into effect on this March. And under this amended act, all cryptocurrency exchanges and service providers must get registered within grace period of 6 months by September 24th. This legislation covers both domestic and international cryptocurrency exchanges. Nothing is very unique or too special compared to any other countries. But this registration procedure, especially through a government body, has never been an easy task. Binance, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, recently announced their service withdrawal from South Korea. However, in terms of cryptocurrency exchanges, South Korea is certainly a big market and too worthy to just lose. There are more than 5 million active investors, and the 2 of the world's top 10 exchanges upbeat and beat them. Through this section, we would like to walk you through all the details on the latest regulations, as well as the registration process for global cryptocurrency exchanges in specifics. These will include complete guidelines on how to enter South Korea's cryptocurrency market in regulatory and friendly way. I hope you explore and find what you have been looking for from this session. Thank you, and best wishes to you all.
Thank you, Mr. John, for greeting and introduction of financial news. Now, we will move on to the main session. Mr. An Sung-ha, Director of Amber Korea, will present the trend and forecast of crypto investors in Korea. Please welcome Mr. An Sung-ha.
Hello, my name is Sung-ha An. I'm Director of Amber Korea and also a CSO of Bestigium. Thank you for having me for this webinar. Let me briefly introduce Amber Group and Bestigium to begin with the presentation of crypto market in Korea. Amber Group is a total crypto finance service provider. Amber has founded in 2017 and has started its service for institutional clients. The service Amber is providing is including OTC, liquidity providing, and asset management and trading execution. Amber is backed by globally well-known institutions from Silicon Valley and Wall Street. So now I would say that Amber is one of the largest and most legitimate crypto finance service provider in the world. The reason why Amber started its business in Korea is that Korea is a country with a huge and powerful retail investors. So since last year, Amber started to provide a service to retail investors because the service Amber is providing is much competitive and customizable compared to the service you can find in traditional finance. Also, Amber is well prepared for the legislation in Korea. And now I'm going to introduce about Bestigium. Bestigium is a crypto investment firm in Korea. So Bestigium invests in digital assets and companies backed by blockchain technologies. So because I've been working in crypto industry for many years as a director of Amber Korea and CS of Bestigium, I worked with many traditional investors who are interested in crypto industry, or as well as the retail investors who recently investing a lot in crypto. So I've been able to get to know about the market in Korea very well. So now I'm going to explain the Korean market situation and how the trend is forming now. So recently in Korea, investment with maximum leverage, so-called B2 trend, continues to dominating the market, with household debt rising by around 10 trillion KRW, which is equivalent to 8.5 billion USD, and the domestic money supply skyrocketing by 23 billion USD in July only. Despite the effort of Korean government regulating the loans and household debt increase remained steady, the customer price index kept rising by around 2% for 4 months, indicating increased inflationary pressure. As many say that MZ generation, a term for millennials and Gen Z in Korea, are trending the Korean capital market to where it is today. In fact, the MZ generation is dominating the recent capital market all over the world, as we saw from the famous case of Robinhood. In Seoul, the MZ generation is already outnumbering the other age groups, accounting for over 35% of population in the city, according to the latest statistics. And financial service providers in Korea, such as commercial banks, are now taking innovative moves, changing their target customers to the MZ generation from the traditional clients, such as high net worth individuals. The MZ generation, especially Gen Z, is called digital native. They prefer the new fintech services over the traditional bank services. They are used to social media, so often rely on it for their investment decisions and invest in meme stocks. They are children who witnessed their parents struggling from number of financial crises regionally and worldwide. It may sound ironic, but the experience would become one of the biggest reasons why the MZ generation is so willing to take risk in their aggressive investment strategy and portfolio, and eager to have financial security as soon as possible, so that they can retire early in their stage of their life. The fluctuation in the capital market led by COVID-19 outbreak in early 2020 had brought huge opportunities to aggressive Gen Z investors. Some of them had made fortunes and left the investment scene, and their heirs studied the story of success in the social media and replaced them in the capital market, dreaming of FIRE, which means financial independence and retire early. Those MZ investors prefer to invest in volatile assets like cryptocurrencies and stocks. One of the main reasons for this is that the house prices are extremely high in South Korea, and they believe that they will never be rich enough to buy a house if they solely rely on their labor income, as the housing market price is skyrocketing in South Korea in recent years. So crypto appears to be very attractive options for the investment for the youth in the scene of making a big fortune at one stroke. It is not hard to find a story on the internet that someone is leaving their job after earning billions of money from the crypto investment. Korean people are very fast movers and act fast. Therefore, from the famous and popular overseas margin trading exchanges, the portion of Korean traders are relatively high, and many trading communities are activated in Korea. So many foreign exchanges are conducting aggressive marketing in Korea, and people are uploading their profit on communities, and many people are getting more involved in the margin trading. Other than that, the trading, many Korean investors are fascinated in DeFi and NFTs, but there's still a lot of confusion on what is DeFi and NFTs, leaving additional challenges to the Korean government. For instance, DeFi and NFT in the wallet are often open to everyone, but the identity of the wallet owner cannot be known unless he reveals it. Only a small percent of people know how to yield farming on DeFi and collect NFTs at this moment, but there has been an increasing number of Korean crypto investors trying DeFi and NFT services so far this year. It is not an understatement to say that South Korea is one of the world's most active market for crypto trading. The transaction volume has been extremely high, and the crypto daily trading volume is even higher than the volume of Kospi stock traded. Over 50% of 20s and 30s in South Korea generations, they have expressed positive opinions about investing in cryptos. Like this, South Korea is still a hotbed for crypto investment. And in addition, many technological innovations are currently being attempted in a wide range of sectors such as transparency, price efficiency, ease of access, and censorship resistance over traditional solutions. I strongly believe that crypto is a revolutionary phenomenon, and it will be replace the traditional finance. And therefore, the existing traditional assets, particularly those difficult to liquidate, such as real estate, will gradually be converted into digital assets in near future. And digital assets will play an important role for the growth of the industry. So what I wish is that as the industry is growing fast, I wish all the government around the world, I think it's better to help the industry to grow and protect the investors rather than just regulating the industries. This is it for my time, and thank you for having me for this webinar.
Thank you, Mr. An, for sharing the knowledge and forecast on the Korean investors and market. Now we are going to move on to the topic of crypto regulations in Korea. Mr. Song Woo-seok, a senior foreign attorney at Bit Law Firm, will present to you on this topic. If you send questions to our email, then we will try to address such inquiries during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this webinar from many parts of the world. It's no wonder because you are the leaders of the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry, where there is no geographical limitations. But at the same time, regulations are being put in place in many jurisdictions, and it would be very difficult for you to catch up with them in all countries in which you conduct your business. My name is Woo-seok Song, a senior foreign attorney at Bit Law Firm. Today, I will guide you through the crypto regulations in Korea. My presentation consists of the following contents. First, I will introduce the crypto regulator and the main crypto regulations in Korea. Second, I will summarize the obligations of crypto exchanges to file business report at the Financial Intelligence Unit of Korea. Third, I will give you a brief update on the current status of crypto exchanges in Korea. And fourth, I will explain why many of you received the notice letter from the FIU, even though you are not physically present in Korea. Fifth, I will provide you with some options that can be taken by global exchanges, filing the report or not filing. Then I will take examples of uncertainties that you might want to avoid. To begin with, who are the regulators in Korea? Financial Services Commission, the FSC, is the main financial regulator that supervises the business of the financial institutions such as banks, securities companies, investment firms, and recently fintech companies. In recent years, the FSC put a lot of efforts to locally adopt the AML principles as recommended by the FedF through its agency COFIU. Now, COFIU enforces the local AML regulations. It closely works with the law enforcement agencies such as the police and the prosecutor's office. It collaborates with tax authority on their taxation matters and with the customs authority on their foreign currency exchange matters. Furthermore, it actively participates in discussion with global AML policymakers under the leadership of FedF, since the Korean FSC chairman served as the FedF president in 2015 and 16. The crypto regulation that we are talking about, the Specified Financial Information Act, has been existing for a long time, mainly targeting the traditional financial institutions. It's just that this act did not apply to the crypto industry in the past because the FSC did not formally acknowledge crypto industry as the financial institutions. Then, in March last year, the act was amended to impose certain AML obligations to the crypto industry. And the FSC announced the sub-regulation to the act, the amended enforcement decree requiring VASPs to file the business report at the FSC. While the enforcement decree already took effect in March this year, the existing VASPs were given a certain grace period to prepare and file the report until September 2021. It is my observation that not many people were paying attention to global exchanges until a lawmaker of the ruling party mentioned in early July that global exchanges must shut down Korean business unless they file the business report. Then in late July, the COFIU sent a notice letter to 27 global exchanges advising them on the reporting requirements in Korea. To many of you, this was the first time that you heard about such duty in Korea. Now, in exactly 1 month from today, the law will be fully enforced. Beginning from September 25 this year, if a crypto exchange continues business in Korea without filing the business report at COFIU, such exchange would be in breach of the act and subject to 5 years in prison or 50 million Korean won, which is about 43,000 US dollars. This act applies to the virtual assets service providers. The act provides that the VASPs are business operators engaging in the following conducts involving virtual assets. Examples of the VASPs are crypto exchanges, wallet service providers, and custody service providers. Current focus of the regulation is on the crypto exchanges, but we foresee that the scope of enforcement would expand to cover wallet service, custody services, or even DeFi services in line with the global trends. So, what do I have to do to file the VASP business report? Is it just a simple submission of a report, or how hard is it? We hear these questions from global crypto exchanges. The first thing that you need to prepare is the Information Security Management System, or the ISMS. You may need to work with your local security consultant to go through the initial gap analysis, followed by enhancement effort. You will need to prepare various policies and procedures covering your data security practices in Korean languages. Then, you have to pass the examination by the Korea Internet and Security Agency. These procedures would take at least 4 to 6 months. And if successful, you will receive a certificate of ISMS, which should be included in your application package for the business report. You also need to submit a business brief, setting out basically who you are and how you will conduct the business. I will explain the contents of this business brief in more detail at a later part of my presentation. You should also demonstrate that your directors are not disqualified by showing the No Criminal History certificate. And you should submit the address and contact information of the domestic business site in Korea, and name of the person residing in Korea representing the company. And if, and only if, your business supports fiat gateway involving the transaction in Korean won, then you will be required to demonstrate that you secured a real name verification bank accounts in Korea, which is not the case for most or all global crypto exchanges. What is tricky here is, even though the Act says filing a report, you are required to file an application for a report to be reviewed by the COFIU, which takes up to 3 months. And your application should be finally approved by the COFIU in the form of the acceptance, meaning that your job is not finished until the report you filed is accepted by the COFIU. Now, let me give you an update on what others are doing. There are so-called Big 4 crypto exchanges in Korea. They are Upbit, Bithumb, Corbit, and CoinOne. Upbit submitted their application last Friday night, and the COFIU mentioned that it would review the report in a speedy manner. So, Upbit is one step ahead and closer to the business report. 3 others completed the ISMS procedures. They have AML systems. They already use the real name verification bank account until September 24, but it is uncertain whether their partnership with banks would continue after September 24. So, now they are focusing on maintaining bank relationship, enhancing KYC practices, delisting dark coins and small cap coins. Upbit is currently running an investor protection campaign for 2 months in August and September. This is the screenshot of the TV commercial for the Upbit Investors Protection Center. Upbit committed 10 billion Korean won for this center, which is more than 8 million in US dollars. Upbit also made it clear that they would establish an ESG committee next year. As you know, ESG stands for Environment, Social and Governance, and it is the hottest keyword in Korea this year. These efforts are expected to bring positive impressions on the crypto industry in Korea. I searched press articles using Bithumb as a keyword and found a couple of news articles showing that Bithumb is putting efforts to cooperate with universities for development of talents and blockchain ecosystems. And recently, the Big 4 exchanges joined to establish a joint venture for purpose of compliance with the travel rule, which will be enforced beginning from March next year. And this is the photo of the MOU signing ceremony in late June. A few weeks later, Upbit withdrew from this plan due to a certain antitrust concern. What about other small and medium-sized exchanges? 16 exchanges have completed the ISMS, but the COFIU says their AML measures are not enough. It is known that there are about 40 exchanges that do not have the ISMS yet. Altogether, these 60-plus exchanges do not know their future in a month, as the banks are reluctant to issue real name verification bank accounts, without which the exchanges cannot operate the fiat gateway, which is their main source of income. A growing number of exchanges are shutting down their business, including CPDocs and Binance KR. What about the global exchanges? So far, no global exchange has obtained the ISMS, while a few of them are taking their own steps. Meanwhile, a few global exchanges, such as Binance, FTX, and Bitfront, have either taken down their Korean language websites or announced their plan to do so. 2 lawmakers from the opposition party recently submitted separate bills to extend the report deadline by 6 months until March 24 next year. But the FSC and the ruling party made it clear that no such extension is acceptable. The decision will be made by end of this month. Meanwhile, to make the already desperate exchanges more frustrated, the Coffee sent letters to 40 local exchanges last week, asking them to submit the shutdown plan to the FIU by end of this month. So, you're saying that you are not a Korean, but you're a global exchange. Why did I receive this notice? Why should I know the obligations under the Korean law? Because, as the Act and the notice letter clearly state, in case any act of the VASP conducted outside Korea results in domestic effect or consequence, the Act applies to you. You are considered as doing business in Korea if you support fiat transaction in Korean won. You operate Korean language website. You roll out marketing programs targeting Korean users. Then you are within the scope of the Korean laws. So, as a global exchange, what are the options? Option number 1 would be filing the business report and continue to do the legitimate business in Korea. Option number 2 would be not filing the business report and discontinue the business in Korea or engaging in questionable business in Korea. Let's see the option number 1 first. The ISMS takes at least 4 to 6 months, and the certificate will be effective for 5 years. Then you should prepare a business brief. This is a document where you can show who you are and how well you are prepared to prevent money laundering and to ensure transparent business in Korea. The business brief begins with the company introduction, such as the company history, shareholding, affiliates, key changes in recent years, and so on. And you should describe how your business is carried out in overall and in detail. In this kind of report, companies are typically required to disclose financial statements in recent years and the profit and loss projection in upcoming years. You will need to explain your organization structure, and this is your opportunity to demonstrate that you have a dedicated KYC team, CTR and STR filing personnel, and compliance function including the money laundering reporting officer. You also want to impress the COFIU that you already have a reliable AML system and work protocol to take care of the KYC, CTR, STR, and compliance programs in daily operation. If you conducted regular AML trainings to all of your staffs, you will want to present the record of such trainings and the training materials used in such trainings. If you have relevant policies and procedures, Korean language version should be prepared. The FIU will be interested to know how well the company is prepared to protect the users. Then, you will need to show that assets of the users are managed separately from the company's assets, and you ensure that the users have easy access to notice, instructions, and assistance in their normal transactions and in case of incidents as well. You will want to show that there's no dark coins listed in your exchange, the listing standard and procedure is fair and transparent, and the white papers of the listed coins are easily accessible by the users. FIU will want to know if there's any past or ongoing disputes, litigations, or investigations, and you will need to disclose them. Last but not least, social contribution plan. This item is not mandatory, but the applicant would want to demonstrate its commitment that, as a good corporate citizen in Korea, it wishes to give a good influence to the society in Korea. You saw the good examples of Upbit and Bithumb in my previous slides. Now, let's move on to option number 2, not filing. you will take every measure so that you would not be considered as doing business in Korea. No Korean won transaction, no Korean language website, no customer support in Korean language, no community admin role for Korean users, no marketing program targeting Korean users. But your website is still accessible in Korea, and you still have Korean users who use your exchange and keep their assets in your exchange. In that case, we do not know if the KOFU will accept the position that you are no longer doing business in Korea. Korean users or funds who make investments through your exchange might have concern and ask if their investments are properly protected and if they can continue to your exchange without concern. Your business partners or investors in your company may ask if your position in Korea is perfectly fine and if there is absolutely no regulatory compliance issue in Korea. Regulators in jurisdictions other than Korea may ask you to explain your position and assessment in Korea in making their own assessment about you in their own countries. Please be reminded that the KOFU works closely with other member countries of the FEDF, and your position in one country should be consistent in other countries. These questions should be answered before you decide to take option number 2. KOFU said in its notice letter that if a foreign exchange continues operation in Korea without filing a report, it would take immediate actions such as blocking access to the website, bringing charges to the investigation authorities, seeking international cooperation in criminal matters. If the Korean users are blocked access to your exchange due to the government action, and as a result, if they claim that their assets were lost because they were unable to take immediate action before their positions were automatically liquidated in your exchange, you might be involved in litigations in Korea, and you would need to properly address such lawsuits in Korea before such disputes and claims are escalated and expanded to other countries. It is unclear which actions the KOFU would take and how it would affect your global business through international judicial cooperation. Although you have carried out your business in many uncertainties so far, you do not want to create other uncertainties while crypto regulations are being put in place in many countries. We hope that we will have more certainty as we approach the September 24 deadline and going forward. The important thing is you should be able to make informed decisions and take calculated risks before you confirm a strategic business direction. Today, I shared with you basic information about the crypto regulations in Korea. Please keep in mind that even though you may have heard the legal requirements in Korea for the first time when you received a notice letter from the KOFU in July, or even today through this webinar, the law was announced 17 months ago, and you have exactly 1 month to determine your business position in Korea. If you have any question, please feel free to contact us by sending us an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Song, for kind presentation. Next, we will have a short Q&A session. We have collected many questions during our speech. Mr. An Song-ha will answer questions on the investors and market, and Mr. Song will answer questions relating to the crypto exchanges. And I can answer the questions on the coins and blockchain business in general. Thank you. Before and during this webinar, we collected some questions at our email. The first question is about the crypto investors in Korea. So Mr. An Song-ha of Amber Korea will answer this.
Yes, I have received 2 two questions. The first one is about Ember, and the second one is about crypto investment. So yeah, I will read the first question. So the first question is Ember safe? And what is strength of Ember compared to other crypto finance services? So yeah, I would say that Ember is very safe because
이거 조금 더 가까이 해야 될 걸.
들어가요?
네. 제가 그냥 할게요. 제가 할까요?
지나가고. Thank you. Before and during this webinar, we collected some questions at our email. The first question is about the crypto investors in Korea. So, Mr. An Sung-ha of Ember Korea will answer this. Please.
Yeah, thank you. So I have received two questions, and the first one is about Ember, and the second one is about investment. So yeah, I will read the first question. So the first one is Ember safe? And what is the strength of Ember compared to other services? So yes, Ember is very safe. First of all, Ember is backed by the most well-known investors from Silicon Valley and Wall Street. You can find this information in many articles on the news and website. And secondly, Ember is backed by insurance, very famous global insurance company. And also, Ember has got enough the profit accumulated in the company. So if there is a hacking or some loss happens, it can be covered fully. And the strength of Ember compared to other services is that we have received some feedback from our VIP clients about Ember service, and they said that our service is very trustworthy and the UI UX is very easy to use, and the product is customizable compared to other service. So yeah, I will finish the answer of the first question like this. And second question is that DeFi and NFT is very hot in global, but I think Korean investors are relatively participating less than the global investors for DeFi and NFT market. And why Korean people participation is low? And what projects or category you think is promising? Yeah, so DeFi and NFT is the trend at the moment, and foreign exchanges, the trading volume of DeFi and NFT projects is the volume is the most high. But the reason why I think for Korean people participate low on DeFi and NFT is that, first of all, there is no famous or well-made project or service from Korea that people can invest in DeFi and NFTs. And the reason is because I think it is not because of a Korean company's lack of ability. It is because they are afraid of the regulation. Because Korean government doesn't clearly state about their position toward DeFi and NFT. Many like exchanges or institutions and tech companies, they don't want to try the risk of becoming the first case of DeFi and NFT and get regulated. So I think this is the reason the ecosystem is not ready yet because of the lack of guideline. And what projects or category I think promising is that it is definitely NFT and metaverse, especially. I think everyone knows the project X Infinity, and X Infinity introduced the concept that play to earn. So on this play to earn concept, people play game and earn money, and they make their living by the money they earned through playing the game. And in Philippines, the money they earn by playing the game is around 5 times higher than average salary of Philippine people. So many projects are now coming up new with the play to earn concept, and definitely metaverse is very hot these days. So if you focused on metaverse and play to earn concepts, I think you can closely follow the trend of market at the moment.
Thank you for your detailed explanation. And there are another questions about the business report. So Mr. Song Seok at Bitlofong will answer this. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Wan. One of the questions was that we currently operate a Korean website, and do we need to immediately shut down the Korean website? That's the question. And my answer would be not necessarily. You don't have to immediately shut down the Korean website, because the reporting deadline is September 24. Until then, your business is not regulated. But I advise to determine your position after September 24, well before the deadline. And another question is about the ISMS. The question is, do we need to have the server in Korea for the ISMS procedures? The answer is, you do not need to have your server in Korea. And it's okay to use the cloud system, because the server audit by the KISA can be conducted remotely. On the date of the remote server audit, you will need to send at least 1 or 2 technicians to Korea. But you don't have to be physically locate your server in Korea. That would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Song. And we also have another question about whether the Korean regulator regards the cryptocurrency as securities. So I think I can answer this question. Well, the detailed question is that considering regulations on United States and other industry-leading countries, financial authorities in such countries are trying to identify whether a certain coin will be fallen into a category of a security, especially in legal perspective. So does the financial authorities in Korea also do the same analysis? Was the question. So my answer is that until now, financial authorities in Korea did not officially try to analyze whether a certain coin is in a category of securities. However, we anticipated that in the future, the authorities will prepare to analyze certain coins' security issues. They already recognize that some of the coins have some similarity with security in financial product market. Also, there exists an unofficial interpretation by financial supervisory service, which is called 금융감독원, that a coin which represents proportional ownership over a real collection, such as a limited edition of shoes or artwork, will be interpreted as a security. So therefore, I think it will be necessary for token issuing business to analyze, especially in legal perspective, whether such token could be foreign to the security in financial laws in Korea. So I think we have many more questions, but we have to close this Q&A session because of the time limitation. So I'd like to end this session. Thank you. Thank you for listening us. If you have additional questions, please send us an email. We will later reply your questions. I think I'm close to closing. With law firm, a co-host of this webinar, will make effort to provide precise information and accurate legal advice. And Financial News will do its best to provide economic news in domestic and in overseas. In turn, we'll also make effort to produce high-quality, beneficial contents. I would like to thank you for watching and attending this webinar. Thank you so much.